Hey everybody. So we're looking at this interactive website again. The website does use Flash, so we won't be able to use it in 2021, at least not yet. I just made the video on prokaryotic cells. Now we're going to move on to the eukaryotes, which are going to be animal and plant. So it says here we see a typical eukaryotic animal cell. Notice the structures and organelles are different from a prokaryotic cell. This one's very busy. You can see, it's a cartoon, so it's drawn with things around it. Point to the different structures to get names and functions. So if we start at the outside, the cell membrane. The prokaryotic cell talked about the cell wall. Animal cells do not have a cell wall. They only have a cell membrane. Everything has a cell membrane, even things with a cell wall. So selectively permeable, that's the hugest deal when it comes to cell membrane. For entry and exit of nutrients and waste, where some important enzyme activity is found. So enzymes help chemical reactions. So a lot of things happen here. Things enter and leave the cell, waste gets out, and some chemical reactions happen here. This one is the most famous one of all. The mighty mitochondria. It says the site of energy metabolism and synthesis of high energy ATP. A lot of times people say like the mighty mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. There's all kinds of memes about like things you learn in school, and it's all the mighty mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Oops. The mitochondria makes energy basically in animal cells. High energy ATP. ATP is like the currency of energy for cells. Cytoplasm provides shape, and many metabolic reactions occur. We also read this in prokaryotic cells. This like train track going around is supposed to be the cytoplasm, but it's not defined here. It's defined other places, so we'll deal with it then. These circles, you can see it's all these like teal circles. I feel like sometimes the circles can be confusing. I'm not going to ask you what circle is which. But peroxisomes use oxidative metabolism of nutrients to make oxygen and water. That's where this that's where the oxy comes from in the name. Oxidative metabolism uses oxygen. Metabolism is the breaking down of things. Lysosome is the metabolism of materials ingested by endocytosis. We'll talk about endocytosis. It's kind of cool. Let's look at these pink circles. Nope, pink circles aren't going to show us on here. Here is the endoplasmic reticulum. Typically the endoplasmic reticulum, this one's the smooth one. There's a difference. Typically the smooth one is drawn next to the rough one. It's not the case in this drawing. So this transports liquids and nutrients. So smooth ER, it's often abbreviated, transports liquids and nutrients. Here's another picture of the mitochondria. Notice the mitochondria always has little like lines going through it. That's important. The fact that it has a double layer membrane, that's those other lines. That's important for the chemical stuff. The rough ER, like I said, it goes with the smooth ER. Usually they're drawn next to each other. It says on the surface, ribosomes bind for protein synthesis. So what it does is protein synthesis. It's rough because it has these little dots, and those little dots are the rough, what makes it rough. Typically in many pictures, the rough ER is next to the nucleus and the smooth ER is a little bit more out. But let's make sure we write this down. Surface on which ribosomes bind for protein synthesis. Then we have the nucleus, storage site of genetic information, the site of DNA replication and transcription to RNA. For our purposes, the genetic information is really important. We'll talk a little bit about replication and transcription later. The Golgi Body is responsible for the secretion of waste products from the cell. The Golgi Body typically see these little dots